Hello. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Bible Study Girl podcast. This is Sarita. You may know me as Bible Study Girl. And here today with us, as every day, is Bible Study Brother, the executive producer of this podcast.
Hello, it is I, Bible Study Brother, also known as Icarus Gray. Feel like I should do it the other way because most times I do it the backwards way. That doesn't make sense.
It does not.
So to do it, like Bible Study Brother, but I'm also Icarus Gray.
Gotcha.
Over at the Gray Area Anime Podcast, heralded or executive produced by my wife Primitiva.
All these aliases and
There's so many of them.
Pseudonyms.
It's a thing.
It is the thing. Have you been?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here. Have you been feeling overworked lately? You haven't gotten a break with the COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
You feel very overworked?
I don't feel quarantined at home. I feel more quarantined at work because nothing changed. And then because of the lack of people at the time and lack of people shopping is what I'll say. I mean, I've said what I do, but I don't feel like reiterating every time. It made it feel more repetitive because you're kind of like cleaning, finding things to do. You still see people, but it's mostly the same people.
Gotcha.
Because it's either the people who, this COVID ain't affecting me, bro. I don't care. Or it's, new people, or not new people, but the same people that you're seeing. Anyway, long story short.
Yes,
I do feel overworked.
You do feel
yes.
overworked. Well, that is a great segue into our topic for today's podcast. We're going to talk about feeling overworked in the church. I can't really remember how we came around to this topic. Actually, I think I do. When we were talking to Bible Study Cousin, she began to tell us about her experience of being overworked in the church, which really is lines up closely with my experience of being overworked in the church. I would say that it's exclusive to small churches, but I'm a part of a bigger church.
No.
Yeah, I'm part of a bigger church now. And it seems like the same people do the same things. And not necessarily because they feel like it's an exclusive thing and no one else can do it, but people don't volunteer to help in the church.
No, but a huge thing, because I was talking to one of my coworkers about this. I think the biggest thing about roles in the church that I have yet to see, we look for volunteers. We do not pray and seek for the people to be in the proper places. Like if someone's asking to do something for the church, like just because you say, hey, I want to help with the kids, doesn't necessarily mean you need to help with the kids. You might be great at it. But then because that wasn't where you were called, or they're not really connected with you properly in the spiritual sense, you're going to get overworked because maybe there was a different avenue for you. But we just kind of lump everybody in the kind of committees and different things. And it's not finding what is your spiritual purpose in the church. Did I pray over it, or did you like, hey, I volunteered? Cool. Come on.
So before you accepted your calling, do you feel like you knew your purpose, your role in the church?
No, that's a little bit more difficult for me. Just because I kind of fell into the things that I was falling into. Like, I went from throwing away the communion cups and stuff after church. Like that was one of my favorite things to do for whatever reason. To I would help set up chairs and all the events and stuff at church because we were always there. So I was always with Melvin at the time. So I would just run around and get everything.
Yeah.
And then it went from that to, I don't even remember how I started doing the sound. Cause I was 16, 17. Really? It was before I left for college.
Wow.
I was in high school doing the same.
I did not realize that.
But
I was also not at the church at the time. No. So that is why.
Because, the man who was doing it at the time passed.
Oh.
and I don't remember because it was me and two other church members. Like either he passed before or during, like it was one of those. I don't remember. I just always done it.
Okay.
Since I was, like I said, 16, 17, like I was doing the sound or learning.
But I think it's helpful where you are now. Like I think it was a very good prepping ground. So clearly that's where the Lord wanted you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but it wasn't somebody, like I don't clearly remember anybody asking me to do anything.
Okay.
So I've never been overworked in doing it because I was like, it wasn't even until I think it was like 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 maybe, when I got back that I even started to get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get paid for it. I didn't care. I was like, so I didn't need to do it. I'm doing it. I like doing it. I could see why the last guy who did it was always asleep, but it just makes I think a lot more sense. But I did just kind of go where I felt the most comfortable. Like if I don't feel comfortable, I don't do it.
I know you don't like change, you don't like new things, you don't like different things. So I get that. I think I'm probably the opposite of you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because I've seen Mama. Like if you want to talk about overworked in the church, I think that's just her life motto, to do as much as you can. Just if you have breath in your body, you need to be doing something. And that's probably where I got my model from as to how I need to operate in the church. Because she would drive the church van on Wednesdays to pick up the youth. She was a secretary. She
has led the choirs and
in the choir, led
the choir. She does she's the central force of an entire conference, or was a central force for the entire conference for
helping
years. Like it seemed like everything was orchestrated through. So she was paying people, picking up music for this conference,
whatever. She's always been busy. So I'm sure that's where I got my blueprint for how you operate in the church. And so after I left our home church, I wasn't that crazy. I wasn't that wild in working in the church. Like I'm trying to think.
Well, you did, but see, your thing was different, and it's closer to. I think you're more of a mix. I do think you would work, but you would be called to do the things that you're already great at, in terms of things that you were working and doing. Like,
I will say,
it took a while though.
Yeah, when I first joined my new church, I was not that. I made sure that I regularly attended. Like when I joined the church, after I left our home church. After high school graduation, when I left our home church, I joined my new church. I would help out with things, but I did not have a dedicated ministry that I was part of. I made sure that I went to church every Sunday and Wednesday. But as far as like working, I didn't do that. I would say I picked that back up when I graduated from college and I moved out of state. That's when I started being more involved in active ministry for like a local church body. And when I came back home, it was all hands on deck, full blazes. Like I was working.
What do you feel about the things that you chose to do? Like, was it, I see a need, or was there something spiritually that you felt fulfilled in doing by doing that?
One of the first things I did when I came back to Arkansas for good and permanently moved was we did the Easter play for Easter. That was my first like big project in the church, and so I was doing what I felt comfortable doing. I felt like there was a need there for me. What are we going to do for Easter? Actually, my cousin told the pastor, my cousin wrote an Easter play and I think we should do it. And he read it and he said, okay. Like, so it wasn't even really me. It was my cousin.
But I still think it lends more to what I'm saying, because at least that first part, because it wasn't until after that that, the overworked aspects of things started to happen, because
True.
clearly at that point you were in line with the things that God has placed in you to do, which is dramatics.
I'm all about the
You
dramas,
are
baby.
dramatic.
Yeah. I wake up in the morning in a dramatic fashion.
But that's something that I think is missing, because like I said, I've never felt overworked because I've always done what either is asked of me or what I know that I can actually do.
So what you're telling me is you don't feel like you can do much.
No.
That's what you're saying to me, to not feel overworked. Because let me tell you.
No, I understand, but also like you gotta understand, like I'm not going. I feel overworked in other stuff.
But not in the church. That's not your struggle.
No, but only because, and then a lot of that is basically because I either wasn't or haven't done all the things that I probably could do. I'm getting into a lot of those things now, and I'm also trying to now use my gifts to manifest the things that he would want from me. Like I feel overworked from not doing the things that I need to do because I've done the working and being everywhere else. But whenever I get a chance to be like, oh God, this is the thing you gave me to do. So if I do this podcast, like there are times where I get tired, but when I'm doing it, it's the most amazing thing in the world, because it's something that he gave me, and regardless of if people love it, hate it, dislike it, I'm talking about my Lord and Savior, and I'm talking about him in the realest sense of how he exists. So even, doing the sound, it's like you were saying, like I'm able to take the stuff that I was doing and using and placing that in something that gives the life that might not be there some days or whatever.
So when you see a need in church, do you ever feel compelled to just jump in? I think that's probably the disconnect between you and I, or the difference between you and I, because if I'm at church and I see a need previously, before I came to my new revelation, I would always jump in. I inserted myself into every ministry.
Well, I didn't, because like majority of the time, like I can either see 5 steps ahead on, nope, that would not be good. Like it would get done, but I can also see that, and I can also in my head, like if it's gonna be something that later on anybody can have a critique about,
you don't want to do it.
You wouldn't do it, like only under the circumstances of, okay, I saw a need, I jumped in, I did it. You didn't do nothing. You didn't do nothing. You didn't do nothing. You didn't want to do nothing. So why am I getting criticized? But I also want to make sure that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because a need does not mean that I can fill it. It just means that there's a need.
I think maybe that's just a personality difference between us, because before I came to my new revelation, I'm gonna talk about my revelation, but my mindset was, as good as God has been to me, I should have no reason to not be fully committed in making sure his church goes forth and making sure that everything that comes out of this church is excellent. And I feel like if I have a skill set that would help, or even just me being an able, willing body, if you ask for volunteers, I'm going, I'm helping, I'm meeting the need.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like sitting out was not an option. God has been too good for me to sit down and not do, because I'm afraid people are going to criticize me.
It's not like, because see, it's not about, I'm not afraid of the criticism. My point is, like, is this something that I need to do? Is this something that God is calling for me to do? Or is this something that I see and I'm placing myself into it and saying that this will do for God? Like, it's not my call on that. Because when I get in the way of trying to do something, like, the tasks, the physical task or the physical things that you see in front of you will get done. But will it get done in a way that it actually touched somebody? Will it get done in a way that it actually spiritually connected to somebody? Or will you again end up in a point to where it's like, I did all of this and y'all don't appreciate it, or it didn't do the turnout thing that I wanted it to do, because not only was I doing what I wanted to do, that I felt that I was led to do. I'm also doing this part and that part because now I'm trying to do the jobs of 12 different people because I wasn't spiritually led to do it. It's just these are the needs.
Do you think you've always been like that? Do you think you've always had that mindset?
No,
Okay.
like no.
Okay, that's what I'm asking you because you're like, well, I didn't do it because the Lord told me.
No. When I was younger, it's just like the lack of a father situation for me. Like I had to be asked or called, and I had to honestly know somebody saw something in me.
Okay, so you wouldn't just insert yourself in anything anyway.
Because
so that's why I was saying I think it's a personality difference.
No, for sure. I wasn't saying it wasn't. I'm just saying like that's still where I go with it, and that's why I was. And I'm also walking through it.
Yeah.
In terms of being a work for the church, in terms of because there are so many people that are overworked in the church.
Yeah, there are 100%. I was one of those people, and I think it's because I had the mentality that listen, out of hands of the devil's workshop. Get in there, get to work, do something, and make it. Lord. Go ahead.
No, you could keep going, but it's just the epiphanies hit me when we do this podcast, like your sermon breakdowns that happen every Monday.
Recaps.
This is a breakdown. I mean, you break down a sermon.
It's a recap.
It's a recap, but a breakdown
because
the same thing.
It's a very short synopsis of what the sermon was about. Because honestly, most Sundays I could probably write a book about because it just goes off in so many different tangents. But go ahead.
It's a SSV.
What does that mean?
Sarita Standard Version.
Crazy. This boy just sat here and conjured that up.
I did. I was like, which one of these can I use? No, but like, you were just doing it in the spirit because of what the blog and everything is. And then you were asked. And then that led into understanding more about what it is that you could do for Sunday school. Well, technically Sunday school, I think, happened prior to, but was
Sunday school happened way
but again, like it
was
just a sought out thought. Like it's
But when I was talking about being overworked in the church, I taught Sunday school. I was the leader of the youth. I would get vacation Bible school together. I was at church all the time, and I was real tired.
But again, it was also the difference was, I think, between the two situations, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is one was they saw that you wanted to work and just let you work.
Right. 100%. Like anybody that's willing to work, especially in a smaller church, if you don't have the numbers, and you're
going to have to do, and I'm not,
you're going to have to do it. Yeah. And
I got to make sure I do clarify on this. I'm not saying like when there's a need, you can't, like if it's 5 of us in the church, like it's a lot of stuff you finna have to do.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not like, please understand. I'm not like, don't do it. God ain't told you to do it. Like, no, you have to like, hey, I'm a usher. I'm a greet. I'm a do, all
I was an usher
things.
too. I forgot about that. And let me tell you, ushering is not my gift. It is not my gift. I only had to usher one Sunday a month though, praise the Lord. And every Sunday that I ushered, the spirit was going to fall fresh on the church and everybody was going to be passed out. Do you know how much work that is when everybody in the church is passed out? It's a lot. And it's just not but there was a need. So one Sunday a month, I'm ushering.
Right. And it's like, I think the thing that is, and like I said, it's a different, because I mean, I'm not even going to act like it wasn't some laziness involved in like my youth. It's just like, if you ask me to do it, I'm going to do it. But like in terms of like just jumping out there or trying something or trying to see and it was more difficult for me in a sense, like I said, because I was always looking for an approved acceptance of the fact that not only am I doing this, you actually feel like I'm pretty good at it, or it seems like something that matches my personality, or it seems like something that you see potential in, spiritually or otherwise, or just in general.
Yeah. Because
you were so you and talented, and just it looked like everything you touched was gold for me, so in that sense, that's where my personality comes from, because I was just looking to be as great or as grand as those around me, but I didn't want it to be like, maybe I can't act like my sister does, but if you need me to do a speech, like the fact, that was one thing that I have noticed, that the speeches have always been something that I think either impress people or whatever the case may be, or something. I'm like, okay, I do this. And, I'm like, oh, this isn't really, something that feels difficult. Like I'm just reading, people, but there was always something that seemed to move people in that sense of whatever. And I was like, and it would always feel spiritually good. Now that's one thing I can say, that I've always known. Whenever I've spoken from the church, I'm like, oh, this feels spiritually like good. I didn't think about it to equate it to, my calling and everything, but it was just like, oh man, like I feel him in the place. And I know that the things I'm saying, the thoughts that are coming together are of him and not of me.
I'm going to say that the reason I wanted to talk about being overworked in the church, because the sermon pastor preached yesterday was about not losing your edge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from 2 Kings. And Elisha's out with the sons of the prophets. They're out by the Jordan River cutting down trees. And one of the sons of the prophets loses his axe head while he's chopping the tree. A whole lot of symbolism. But the point is, your ministry is valuable. You don't keep hacking at this tree if your axe head is off, because it's not going to be effective. And to me, that parallels so beautifully with this topic. I was hacking away at being an usher. That ministry was not effective, because that's not what he called me to do. I was hacking away at being everything for everybody, and it wasn't effective. And I think the important thing for us to remember is that in ministry, we have to be making a difference and not just be doing something, not just be filling a spot or, a placeholder. What we do has purpose, it has meaning, it has value. And even when I transitioned to St. Luke, this is a new church for me, I had to be very prayerful about what I was going to be involved in. Day one, like once I finished new members classes, I did join a ministry, but I also didn't want to stretch myself thin. So I had to get myself to a place where I was prayerful about what my next move should be, to not be in all the ministries, because it makes no sense to be in all the ministries and not be effective in any of them.
But we'll also get ahead of ourselves, because the other thing about being overworked in the church, we don't know how to take rest.
We don't.
And that's like something I think we would have forgot about, because we was getting into the meat of like finding your purpose in the church. And that's not to say that you will not get tired.
Yeah, everybody gets tired.
You're going to get tired. Trust me. But being able to understand where you're supposed to be placed, where God is placing you, and being able to say, hey, I can't do it this Sunday. I need to, hey, I'll be here because, I'm going to come for service, but, or I need to rest. Like saying you need to rest is okay in church.
It is. It's very needed. I've had a lot of rest in this season, and I don't think I realized how much I needed it.
Oh no, but we can't, because when you're in the field, you're in the field.
Right.
Like, give me a thing. I go to sleep. And like you're not even understanding what's like, something is frustrating me. I'm upset about this, and then like when you stop looking at God, like when we're able to see Sister Johnson, Sister Mary didn't do this, they didn't come and help this, we're not focusing on God anymore in the purpose. Like I'm able to see the fact that so-and-so didn't do something because, well, then what, did I do this for them, or did I do it for God? Did I do it for the people that came?
100%.
And that's something I think is difficult in the church, and it's just something that I'm growing and learning. Like I'm going to fill more roles, but we've been spiritually guided to them. And then, like, I'm not going to overstep my boundaries, and I'm going to pray on what God would have me to do. That's the other thing about working, is when you find your purpose and you're in it, you still got to talk to God about what it is you're doing.
Right. Like, it's right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it. Because just because it's like, it doesn't mean, like with sermons, God has to be there. It's not like, oh, I got an idea for a sermon. It's like, no, we literally, I'm always in conversations and we'll be sitting talking about something. And then I'm like, oh, that could be a sermon. And then if he don't give me like, this is how the sermon is going to be, or what the thought process on it is supposed to be to get the message across, it's not, it's done. Like, it's not I know it's not good.
Yeah.
You know, but that's something that's neat. And I want to say this to everybody that's listening. If you working in your church and you feel a rest, if you don't think you're in the right position, try another position. Like,
that's hard to do though. If
like,
you,
no, and I understand.
It took me a long time to get to that point where that was okay. Because like I said, my model was, you work at the church all the time, work at the church. Like, you dedicate.
But to emphasize your point and emphasize the sermon, if you're doing so many things that you don't take rest long enough to even see that your axe head is falling off,
right,
and you're beating yourself up on a tree and wondering why it won't fall down,
right,
and then instead of being able to see that you needed to take that rest, you'll start blaming God, because you say, Lord, I'm here doing
right, and nothing's
but you're
happening,
not doing the thing I asked you to do
at all.
You're not doing it in the right spirit, and you don't even realize that you're tired. I've said to you a million times, rest. You know, but you won't do it. So just, it's a process. The process of serving, the process of being a church, the process of being a church body.
Right, is a process. And every part of the body has a function. And that's why it's so important for us to get focused and centered and know what our purpose is.
Right.
So you won't be an ear. So you won't be an ear doing footwork.
Exactly. But it takes a while because a lot of our structures aren't set up for that.
True.
We're not set up for an examination. So you come into the body and you're just, you know, like we do a physical exam of, do you know Jesus? All right. It's not like, do you know Jesus musically? Or do you know Jesus? Like, there are some, like, we read the Bible and we see all of the different jobs. It doesn't say that the trumpeter was also the warrior. Well, some of them is, but it doesn't.
Well, you can have more than one.
You can. No. Well, I'm not saying you can't have more than one job, but I'm just saying it doesn't say, like, when you see people in their purpose, like, you'll see it's different. It speaks different when the things are going on. You know, Jesus was a carpenter.
He was. Side note, this ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about, but I'm feeling this right here in my heart. I need for the Lord to send me a husband that's a carpenter. Not because Jesus was a carpenter, but because there's so much stuff around my house that needs to get done. It is. It's so much stuff around my house that needs to get done. And I need somebody handy. Okay, we can get back on track. But you talking about a carpenter made me like, what?
Make it plain, Lord. Okay. Make it plain. You said
I need somebody that, and even if he can't fix it, he got the money to get it fixed.
Hallelujah. And the wisdom to know that it needs fixing.
Right. And when I say we need to get this hole patched, he like, you know what, girl? You're right. Okay. Back to the subject. You just talked about a carpenter and I went.
No, but it makes sense. I was just more so saying, like, you see that there can be specialization and that Jesus, even in the disciples, everybody played a role and did what they were supposed to do.
But they all had jobs before Jesus called.
No, yes.
They were at work. So it's important for us to be at work.
But he didn't get Paul to do Judas's job.
Because it wasn't for him.
But that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all. I'm like, it wasn't like, okay, it, you know, there might be a need here. And I was talking with my wife about Judas in general and how, like, he was still good at what he did.
Excelente.
Like, you know, he had to keep track of making sure they had lodging, where they were going to be, their finances, like, because they wasn't making, like, it wasn't like people was paying them all the time or doing any of that. It's just, this is what we got. This is what I got to do. And it speaks to God in putting people in their purpose.
Right.
Like, whew.
It was
a word.
It was a word. I think this whole situation here has been a word.
So did you reveal your revelation?
I did. My revelation was that I don't have to be everything everywhere to everybody. I need to listen to God and do what he tells me to do and not feel guilty when I have to say no. I
Yep.
had to learn how to set appropriate boundaries. Jesus didn't put me on this earth to do everything. He put me on this earth for specific reasons, and I need to hone in on those and get the work done, or I'm not going to be effective at all to anybody.
Right. And we do want to say this, just in general, about like church structures can make you feel like that.
Yes.
Trust God, not the structure.
Right.
Trust God, not the building. Trust God, not even like. And it's not to say not to listen to your pastor, but
You're supposed to listen to your pastor.
But Apostle Sharon has said this one time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're mad at me for something that I said or something that I did, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm probably gonna butcher it, but the general purpose of it was you should be following the God I follow.
Right.
Like if you're upset about something that doesn't seem to be going right, or you feel like whatever, like were you following God or were you trying to follow man?
Me and please
And
me,
like, and
yeah.
you can't follow me. Like I'm following him.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a word.
Just in general, like that's more so what I mean. Like, cause a lot of the times, like your pastor can come to you and say, and I'm not saying don't trust them, but like you still have to pray and get that understanding.
Right.
And you have to be able to say, if you don't feel led, say it. Maybe there will be a conversation between you two that'll reveal why he asked you.
Right.
Like now, if it's just, well, I just need your mama used to, and I thought, cool. Then that's, that's more of a like, well, I'm actually more gifted than this. You pray on it because it's all kinds of different ways that can go because you actually could be supposed to do that. You just been running from it. But like with my calling or whatever. But prayer and seeking God about what it is you need to do and how you need to do it and continuing to seek him while you're doing it.
Let me ask you a question. How do you know it's God's voice? Because we say that. We say prayer. We say seek God's face. But how, for you, do you know that this is something God wants me to do? I will tell you, for me, I will feel like, okay, Lord, this is what I feel like you're saying you want me to do. But then it never fails because I do pray. But after I pray, I get confirmation from different places. It might be from my devotional that day that confirms, yes, this is what I want you to do. It might be from somebody on the street saying something to me, somebody I don't know that's like, oh, that's wild. So I always get confirmation before I go off because I feel within inside me like, okay, Lord, which way should I go? Oh, you want me to go this way? But I always get confirmation. So that's what it is for me. What is it for you?
I got you.
Okay.
And it's real simple. You know me. Mm-hmm. I don't move on much unless whatever. If I'm moving in something confidently, like it is all him.
Okay.
Because that's not my general text. Like I'm just going to work. Like I'll go and do my work, but I'm going to stay over here in the corner and do whatever it is I need to do. Whenever I'm saying something confident, like, hey, stop. This is what we need to do. And I'm like raising my voice or like, listen, like, and there's a difference between like if I'm upset or if, I'm just being opinionated about something. Like I know when it's like, he just shouts through me in a way that that leads me to, what I need to do.
Okay.
Basically.
I was just asking because I don't want to be so in the clouds and mystical. Like,
well, his voice is going to be different for most people.
His voice is different for everybody, but I just wanted to know, like, what does that mean for you? Because I remember being a teenager and being in church and hearing, well, the Lord will tell you, and I'm like, okay, but what does that sound like, and what does that mean?
You just end up in a ride. Like I said, so talking about how me and my wife got together is like it was all him because I'm not that confident in talking to people. Like I'm majority of the time low self-esteem, all this other stuff, and it was like all of that was not in place when talking to her. I'm like, I have no idea why I feel so confident.
So when you have that confidence, that's him. Like this is my place. This is where I need to be.
You can feel comfortable.
Okay.
Like, and it's not even like the comfortable of like, oh, I want to go home and not be around people. It's like
This is my bag.
Like, it's crazy. Because like, if I can't follow, and I'm logical, whenever I can't follow the trail back to how I got here, I'm like, that's him. Like, I didn't write this. This is too immaculate for me to have ever
put your hands on. So gotcha.
That's normally my big sign.
Okay, so we don't have to be overworked in the church. We do need to hone in on our purpose so that we can be effective in ministry. It's not always about putting on another church program, but it really is about how many people come to know Jesus because of what I'm doing. That's the short and the long of it. Like, it's not about, it doesn't matter if there are 8,000 people on the roll, how many people really know Christ of those 8,000.
It doesn't matter if I'm doing a food drive, if no one was actually fed with the word.
Right. We do need to meet physical needs.
They do need to get physical needs, but
we need to be effective in.
If what you saw was just, well, I know the church will give me a plate, versus they're giving me this plate because of God and doing what God would have me to do, and the God in them is them, showing that to me. But anyway, there are blog posts every day, not a day miss. No rest for the weary.
No rest. I do not feel overworked with the blog, though. I'm going to put that out there. Just know this is what God told me to do, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna let you get.
And you thought you were.
I thought this is crazy when I first because I even asked Bible study brother, like, how often do you think I should post the blog? And he was like, maybe 3 times. Or,
I was saying around
and I was like,
the typical
but I feel
days.
like the Lord told me every day. And he was like, whoa. Like,
I said, I ain't trying to do that.
But I'm going to let you do your.
But she does that over at BibleStudyGirl.com. Every day.
Every day. Except for Saturday because a new podcast drops.
Oh, yeah. Listen to us. The other thing that she does, she posts every day on Instagram at _ Bible Study Girl. On the Twitterverse, it's Bible Study Girl too, which I don't think she can do much over there, but y'all fine. And then
they get the post every day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I get the post. So you're getting something every day,
every
regardless.
Day. Yeah.
And then there's an email where you can send your testimonies, you can send your questions, you can send your ideas, you can send your acquisitions to be a guest, is what I was trying to say. I don't know if acquisitions was the right word. I'm using big words for no reason. But anyway.
For no reason. You are your mother's son.
Bible Study Girl 2019 at gmail.com. And last but not least, we got a Facebook. So go like, share, comment, or hit the care button. I really like that new emoji thingy.
It is an emotion too, though.
Emotion thing. Come care. Hit us with some care. And remember that it's not they preach, it's not us preach, it's not she preach, he preach, but we preach.
And until we meet again, guys, keep preaching.
Yeah.